All right, and we have our very special guest, Dr. Colin Zhu, on the line right now, so I'm going to put him on right now. Welcome, Dr. Colin Zhu. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Aloha, Alanna.
Wonderful. Aloha. Thanks so much for calling in today. So appreciate it. And so I know that you did a really awesome event recently at the somewhere in Kapa'a for the Vegan Society of Hawaii. So I was just trying to catch you while you were here so you could share some of your amazing wisdom and knowledge with our community for those who weren't able to attend the event. So can you maybe start by just giving us a little bit about your background and about yourself?
Sure. So aloha to everyone that's listening. My name is Dr. Colin Zhu. I am originally from New Jersey, from the United States, and I'm currently in Southern California. And I am a family medicine or general practice physician by training. And I specialize in two different things, lifestyle medicine and culinary medicine. And what that basically means is that I help patients in the areas of food, nutrition, lifestyle habits, physical activity, sleep, all the pillars of health, and help them optimize their health and wellness and get them back on track. And the Vegan Society of Hawaii invited me out, and I gave talks and demos, food demos, at 3 different islands, and Kaua'i was one of them.
Awesome. And so what did you do first, medicine or culinary in your journey to learn all of it?
That's a very good question, because why would a doc want to get into food, right?
Yeah.
I don't really start my story unless I mention my mother, who raised me and kind of groomed me towards wellness. And she's a Chinese medical doctor, or if you have heard of traditional Chinese medicine or acupuncture, that's what she specializes in, and that's what she still does. And growing up, that kind of groomed me and modeled me into looking at the person, the patient, in a very holistic manner, looking at them from a very preventative lens. And when I went into medical school, I was thinking that I was going to blend Eastern and Western philosophies, but I realized that, every patient that walked through our door when I was studying in medical school, whether it was a cough or a low back pain, had some sort of chronic lifestyle-related risk factor attached to them, whether it's high blood pressure, diabetes, cancer. I'm sure people that are listening, either have it themselves or know of someone or a loved one that is battling with it. Yeah. And so I said to myself, what school training at the time didn't prepare me enough. And so, long story short, I took a lot of detours. I, went into culinary school after medical school. I got my health coaching certification before I matriculated as a medical resident to finish my family medicine training. And then from that time, I just decided to use that education to hold talks, give demonstrations, workshops, just to really educate and teach.
Gotcha. And so I wanted to ask, I was going to ask first, what are the most common ailments you usually deal with, but you kind of responded to that. But so what did you learn, do you think, in, the culinary school that works synergistically with your medical education, and how do you apply that to help people?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Most medical schools are really predominantly, besides obviously studying the human body, studying the human body, how it works, it also emphasizes a great deal on how disease comes about and how drugs work, right?
Wow, yeah.
And so very little, it's getting better in some schools. Very little is dedicated towards how to prevent disease and how to optimize your body and things like that. And so when I looked into culinary school, I said to myself, I really wanted to learn more about food, not just nutrition. I really wanted to know where does food come from, how it's sourced, how it's grown, how different food groups are put together on a dish, your palate, how does the taste profile work? And I enrolled myself in a school where it was specialized in health supportive and plant-based education. And so most culinary schools are grounded in the French technique, and so my school was grounded more in traditional ethnic Asian cuisines and things like that. And so that's how I prepared myself. It was very intentional in terms of how I wanted to blend them together.
That's amazing. I love ethnic food. I find, and Asian food, I find that eating plant-based, that's like one of the more exciting things you could get, like curries and stir fries and all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
It's super cool that you got to learn about that.
For sure.
Yeah, and so what methods in your practice do you use to kind of help people have a more thriving life and kind of heal themselves? And what type of results maybe have you seen? Like how long does it take someone to, once they adjust their diet, like how long does it take for them to kind of see results in their life?
Yeah, it's actually a lot quicker than you think, depending on, what your goals are, right? When I counsel someone or consult with someone specifically in lifestyle medicine, a lot of times people come to me, for common reasons, popular reasons, right? Weight loss. I want to lose weight. I want to, bring my cholesterol down. I want to bring my blood pressure down. And what they don't realize is that when you're looking at whole food plant-based, right? And we're talking about, green leafy vegetables like kale, spinach, things like that. We're talking about starchy vegetables, right? Here on the islands, I'm sure you have like cassava, taro, things like that. On the mainland, we have like sweet potato. We were talking about nuts and seeds, legumes, beans, peas, things like that, whole grains. When you're looking and studying that, and when you're looking at the literature, what you find is that, when there's, in terms of medication, when there's a pill for every ill, when you're consuming a whole food plant-based, it actually encompasses more than just, is there a diet just for high blood pressure? Is there a diet just for diabetes? Is there a diet for just cholesterol? And what you soon realize is that when you're eating and living a lifestyle in more whole food plant-based, it actually addresses all of it. And the reason why is because it lowers, chronic inflammation, right? It helps to reduce oxidative stress. It helps to balance your microbiome, and it helps to improve and increase fiber. And what that basically means is that simple analogy would be like reducing as much rust to a car, right? We all can relate to a car, right? We can all relate that a car eventually breaks down. So do our physical bodies. But when you're eating more whole food plant-based, you are essentially lowering that type of rust to that car, which is your body. And then not only just food and nutrition, we also emphasize and advocate protecting your mind, having a positive mindset, right? Reinforcing relationships, not just with yourself, but also with others. There's a lot of positive, health effects with, having a strong community. And good hydration, sleep, things like that. It's pretty much the pillars of health, but my practice is really dedicating all of that towards, all of that, instead of going to a traditional doctor and spending just 5 minutes, if you're lucky, on just counseling.
Awesome. That's so cool that you do such a holistic approach. And it's just super cool to hear more about what a plant-based diet can do. I have a question actually from a listener. She wants to know, can you explain more about what your biome is, or your microbiome? How that works?
Yeah, that's a great question. Whoever is asking, your microbiome is basically, if you've heard the buzzwords gut health and immune health, right? We've probably been hearing that a lot lately because of the pandemic, right? And essentially, the microbiome is it's a ecosystem of microorganisms. We're talking about bacteria, viruses, fungi, things like that. We actually have more microorganisms in our bodies than human cells. As of late, we have around anywhere from like 9 to 10 billion microorganisms to one human cell. So essentially, we are just one gigantic super organism walking around. And so essentially what that means is that they all live, 70% of it, majority of it is in your gut, right? Yes. And it just so happens that 70% of your immune system also lives, close to your gut as well.
Wow.
And so basically whatever contact, the only contact they have to the outside world is what you put into your mouth, right? So if you decide to give them healthy food, they're going to be healthier and happier, and they're going to be able to create positive effects on your body to maintain your body health. If you give them unhealthy food, it does the opposite. And so it also ties into, increase in heart disease, dementia, depression, diabetes, things like that, and even cancer. We're learning more and more about the microbiome as we speak, and there's been an explosion of evidence over the last decade about this.
So what foods are bad for your microbiome?
Honestly, the simplest way I could, describe it is, fiber, and I think when people think of fiber, people think of, Metamucil or, powder over the counter, things like that. But essentially fiber is kind of like the scrub pad in your sink, right? And what it does is that it helps to clean out your colon, your digestive tract, and it helps to bulk up, your stool. And, the reason why that's important is because it's very important to have good, healthy poops, okay? Yes. If you're not getting 1 to 2, good poops a day, if it's not coming out easy, if you're not straining, that's the goal, right?
Yeah.
And in order to do that, you have to have sufficient amount of fiber. And where does fiber come from? Fiber only comes from plant food. It does not, zero, come from animal-based foods. And what do I mean by animal-based foods? We're talking about anything that moves, anything that has a face, okay? None of that has fiber. And so, all the different plants and vegetables and fruits that I mentioned before, they all have fiber. Only 3% of Americans actually get the recommended daily servings of fiber a day. Only 3%.
Oh, that's
and so you can imagine how much, how plugged up we are, how constipated we are, how much chronic disease we're battling because of the fact that we don't consume enough fiber. They, experts recommend anywhere from 30 to 40 grams a day.
Wow. So that's what's good for your microbiome, and that's really interesting.
Yes.
I keep hearing that, my boyfriend always talks about how fiber is important, but I didn't really visualize when you say it's like a scrubber of your intestines. That's an interesting analogy that helps me kind of picture it more. So it just kind of helps push everything down and out of you.
Yeah. Another way to think about it is if you heard of the term probiotics, probiotics is essentially the healthy gut bacteria. Fiber is considered the food for your probiotics. So they're essentially called prebiotics. Okay? So I know it can be confusing, but basically fiber is food, for, for the healthy good bacteria.
Gotcha. Okay, and so I know you listed off some whole foods, plant-based things that people can eat, like kale, spinach, nuts, seeds, legumes, beans, taro, sweet potato. But sometimes, people don't have the best imagination, so they're just like, oh, that all just sounds like plain stuff. But, I mean, it sounds delicious to me, but, I just want to help people conceptualize how they can incorporate it more into their lives. And so what are some easy kind of more like a dishes that people can make, since you are just happen to be a doctor and chef? Can you kind of give some examples of tasty things people can make at home to eat more plants and fiber and be more healthy?
Yeah, of course. So I know that the islands are a little bit unique of a situation because one, islands, right? And, a lot of things have to be imported, and price, affects your decision in terms of what you would buy, right? So I would probably say the easiest would be, obviously you can do salads, you can do smoothies, right? Those are very, very simple, it's easy to put together. Make the kitchen your home. Make the kitchen kind of like the friendly place to be. Experiment in the kitchen. You don't have to have expensive, equipment. You really just need to have a good knife, maybe a blender, and a skillet, and then you're good to go. You know what I'm saying? So I would invest in a good, knife and start, prepping and chopping up stuff. Creating good bowls for yourself, right? If you can make, brown rice, quinoa, you can make like oats, that can be like a good base, right? Start experimenting with different kinds of beans, beans, peas, legumes, lentils, things like that. If you can't find things fresh, you can also look things in the frozen aisle, because frozen foods are picked when they are, peaked at its, at its freshness, and then it's flash frozen. So you can do, frozen foods, right? I would stay away from, minimize things that are in a can or in plastic or in containers, because it comes with a lot of preservatives and a lot of other chemicals that are, harmful to the body, right? So fresh is possible. Buy from your local farmer is possible.
Yeah, luckily we have lots of farmers markets on Kauai, so...
and eat according to the season, right? So if you're eating something in season, that would be more cost effective than something out of season, right? And then you just have to be creative, you just have to be creative in terms of what you want to, put things together, wraps, sandwiches, soups, stews, things like that. There's a lot of variety that you can do. You just have to, the internet is at your fingertips. You can look up my stuff. You can go on YouTube. You can Google like anything, plant-based recipes, vegan recipes. I would highly recommend that you visit your local, Vegan Society of Hawaii chapter and look on their website, for more information. They have a wealth of information on their website.
Interesting. Okay. And so, one, how can people find your website and more information about you?
Yeah. So my website is chefdoczoo.com. So CHEFDOC, Z as in zebra, ZHU.com. And then I'm on most social media platforms. My handle is at the Chef Doc for pretty much all the social media platforms. THECHEFDOC. And it could also be found on my website as well.
Awesome. And so that's really awesome. We'd love to stay in touch and see what you got going on. I just want to kind of bring it back just to like, how do I say, I know that we said that meat items don't have any fiber in them, and so that might not help your gut microbiome. But what other motivation should people have to try and incorporate more plants into their life? And maybe it doesn't have to be that it's all plants. Maybe you just try to do like 80% or 50% or something. But what other things can you tell us about how that can affect your health, or what kind of ailments that can help, just to kind of bring it back in case the people missed the beginning?
Yeah, of course. I think preparation, meal preparation, is probably the most work and challenging part of all this. And if you can dedicate like one half day to just meal prepping for the week, right? Depending on whether you'll prepare meals for yourself or for your family. That's one suggestion I would do. I would, if you go to the supermarket to shop, just stay in the produce aisle and try not to go anywhere else, and just be creative in terms of like what you can, whip together just by standing in the produce aisle. And, whole food plant-based, can help with, the literature goes back as far as 1990. And we have whole food plant-based is the only diet that's been proven to reverse heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and early stages of prostate cancer. Okay?
Yeah.
And, it helps a lot more ailments, other than that. And what's great about it is that you don't have to count carbs. You don't have to count calories. When you're eating more plants, you're increasing nutrition and decreasing the amount of calories that you're eating, right?
Yeah.
Whereas if you're eating the standard American diet, if you're eating more animal-based foods, like, chicken, turkey, beef, fish, eggs, dairy, things like that, processed food, fatty food, takeout food, things like that, fast food, you're effectively increasing your risk for heart disease, diabetes, cancer, all the different things that the nation faces, right? Obesity, things like that.
Yeah.
So, like I said before, where medicine has a pill for every ill, whole food plant-based is very interesting and fascinating where, we could change the lifestyle and, you could, lose weight. We have people go on whole food plant-based and in 2 weeks they can drop, their cholesterol points, by, 10 to 20 points, right? I've had one patient that dropped their cholesterol points by 70 in 2 weeks.
Oh my goodness.
I've had patients that drop, the blood pressure. There's documentation in the literature that if you go whole food plant-based, you can reduce your insulin as little as 2 weeks. Okay, that's documented in the literature. And there's so many different things that, it has. It's just that it's not headline news, right? Because no one's making money off of it, right?
Gotcha, yeah.
So that's why, I advocate, it's a lot harder to teach and educate, and then it's a lot harder for patients to change their lifestyle because it takes work, it takes time, it takes commitment, it takes patience, right? And kind of like being in a relationship. So,
but we're talking about our relationships to ourselves and our bodies and foods, and that's also very important. So,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for, that really got me thinking about how I should spend more time meal prepping each week. Gave us some good ideas, make some more salads, smoothies, maybe a Buddha bowl or sandwiches, soup, stews, and incorporating more whole foods, plant-based whole foods. So do you have any kind of last, I know you're traveling and enjoying Maui right now. Do you have any last kind of things that you would like to share with people that can just help them live happy, healthy lives? Any parting words for the people?
Yeah, for sure. If you go on my website and email me, we can send you a free recipe bundle.
Cool.
It's a downloadable PDF where you can get recipes that you can start at home. I have a YouTube channel that you can, and I also have a podcast.
Awesome.
That I host as well. And if you or a loved one would like to see me as a consult, I am applying for the Hawaiian state license. So that's processing right now. So I could see people virtually. Most of my work I do from home. So I see patients virtually, and I can do telehealth, telemedicine, and be able to consult with you remotely.
That's amazing. And so your website is chefdoczu, chefdoczu.com. So you can sign up.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can sign up for all that good
stuff. If you go to my social media handle, it's in my link bio. You can click there, and it has all the links that you need to go if that's easier.
Gotcha. And your which bio? Where?
It's if you go to my Instagram account, the Chef Doc, it's in my link bio. So you just click on the hyperlink in the bio, and it'll lead you to my website if that makes it easier for your listeners. If not, you can go to my website or email me, Colin at chefdoczu.com.
Awesome. Yeah, and what better person to give, health advice, lifestyle advice than someone with such a diverse background as yours, really tying in both the medicine and the cooking or the culinary aspect. So thank you so much for calling in and sharing more with us today, Dr. Zhu. I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate it as well. I do want to give a shout out to the Vegan Society of Hawaii for inviting me out and hosting me over here. So definitely check out their website. They have a wealth of resources, and I think they recorded my demos and talks.
Oh, awesome!
So you could link up with them and check out my lecture. That's also a additional resource as well.
Awesome. That's great. I was so sad to miss it, but I'll definitely check it out and watch the replay.
Yes. Thank you so much, Alanna, for having me on. I appreciate the opportunity.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing all that amazing wisdom with our community. We so appreciate you and hope you have a good time on Maui, and we look forward to welcoming you back next time you come to the islands.
Of course. Mahalo.
All right.
Take care, everyone.
Aloha. Take care.
Aloha. All right.
Bye.